how I would run this server file. Yep, so the first answer I got, which is absolutely correct, is to run node. Node is the command that we would run, obviously, just to kind of show you again. Node is the command we would run to execute a JavaScript file. And if we type server.js, and notice if I tab that over, because it is an option, it auto-completes, that's going to run this node server. However, there's another thing that we could look at in order to be able to figure out how to run this server. Who can tell me what another area is that we could look at within this file structure? Yeah?
You think
Yes, package.json file. So here is a command that I have built into my machine. You all can type cat. What cat will do is print the contents of a file. I have a better version called SF, which is show file, and all it does is it color codes my cat. So, and yes, I will show. It's a Python app, so I'll show you how to get that installed later. Say it again. Yep, same thing. It just gives us colors, right? Like that's the only difference. So that shows me my server file. Let's cat. Sorry, I meant to do my package.json. Let's do package.json. In here, if I look under the scripts section, there's a thing here that says start, right? That runs node server.js, which is the exact same thing as us typing node server.js, except it runs it through these node scripts. I want us to be using node scripts as much as possible because these things allow us to automate stuff. For example, today we're going to create one called test, and that's going to run test for us. So when we say npm run test, it runs our test, which points back to this. Here's another question I have for you. So we're out on time here. Okay. Another question I have for you. Who can tell me the point of this file? This is the most important file in Node. We'll go here, actually.
Like a brief description about your server, what you have in your server of packages and the start commands line, something like this.
Yep, I would say that is absolutely correct. And let's get you pro level with your terminology. All right. This file is meant to house meta information. And all that meta information means is that it houses information about my application, general information about it. What's my repo, or like how do I run it? You know, what's my license look like? And then the most important piece, even more important than this, is it houses dependencies. So I'm going to put that even bigger. Dependencies. That's package.json file, right? So if I wanted to clone this app down for the first time ever, if I run npm I, right, or npm install, they're the same thing. What that does is Node goes into this file, it looks at this dependencies block, and it says install that dependency. When I say npm I express, then it installs the dependency and it puts it into this block. So every time we install a dependency, which is just an application that we're using to help build our application, it will get listed in this package.json file. And that's important because when we push our code up to GitHub, what big folder do we ignore? What folder never gets pushed up to GitHub? I'm hearing lots. Hold on, we'll go here. Environment file is one of them. There's another one I'm looking for. Node modules. We never push up node modules. Let me give you an example why. When I say npm I and Node goes in here and installs Express, Node is not just installing Express. Express is one thing. Express has in it, it's a Node app. Express has 1,000 require statements, right? And it's pulling in modules. So when I install Express, I'm actually installing Express and like 55 other things. That means that every time I continue to build and install stuff, I'm going to get this list of 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 modules. And to push that up to GitHub and to clone that down from GitHub is way too much. There's no need. So we ignore that and we list them in here. The point is to have a listing of them so that we don't have to overload our repository and that we can manage that stuff locally on our own machines.
Yeah.
Good?
So we only got the names of the dependencies. If I want to run this file into another device, I just npm
Yep, and let's do that, right? I've already installed that, but check this out. Be careful with your RFs, by the way.
Yeah.
So I have removed the node modules directory. So if I try to run this, so we'll say npm run start, it's going to fail.
Yeah.
And it's telling me when it fails, cannot find module express because node modules doesn't exist. So watch this. When I do npmi, first off, as many times as I've done this, I still love watching that. 50 packages were installed, not one, 50, because Express has require statements to install 49 other packages. We all follow? So that's the importance behind ignoring the node modules directory, and the importance of our package JSON is to tell us what are those dependencies so that we don't overload things like our repository, right?
So every time I get for my repo,
Mm-hmm.
I need to do npmi.
Excellent question. The answer to that is yes. Every time I push up a demo code or you pull down something from the repository and you try to run it, it's never going to run right away. You're going to have to run npmi, which will look in this file, or excuse me, the package JSON file, find all those dependencies, install those dependencies, and now you can work on your application and get it running, right? So let's run this server. Check this out. This server is not anything you really even need to look at the code for. I just want to show you how ridiculously fast Node is, so you have an idea of why it's so widely used. So I'm going to say, we'll do npm run start. Okay, that starts this server. If this was a better server, it would say listening on a specific port, right?
Yes, yeah.
And then I'm going to go over here, under Jordan temp, and I will be slower with my typing as we get into this, but right now I'm just kind of getting to these files here. Okay, so this is an executable file, and what it's going to do is run an Apache benchmark test by making 10,000 concurrent requests to this node server. 10,000 requests. Now, you know, we were using other platforms and tools for this kind of thing. That could take a long time. Check this out. This is so cool. So benchmark completed. That's crazy. It did
18 requests, now you know this request.
10,000 completed requests, and it took that long. I mean, that was insane, right? Like, it was super quick to be able to do that. Now, this Apache benchmark test just tells us like how many requests happen at what certain percentage of the request time frame, that kind of thing. None of that's really important to you at this point. The point is, 10,000 requests were made in a system like Node.js, and that is why we use Node.js to build modern JavaScript applications. It's because it's fast. It's because it's scalable. How many of you all know what scalable means?
Scalable.
Scalable. What is scalability in software architecture? Hold on. Let's get hands. Not yours. We're gonna do someone else's. We'll go here.
It can be added as a feature. You can add more features.
That's exactly right. We can have an application that says, oh, we need to add this feature to it, and we can add a feature, and it continues to grow without breaking and without causing lots of weird structures and refactoring to take place. Node is a scalable architecture as long as you conform to its rules. JavaScript is the Wild West, so you can do whatever you want, but you're not going to get things as scalable as they should be. 301 is Wild West Node.js development. 401 is scalable Node.js development. All right? Awesome.
Mr. Brian,
Yes?
can you please me show the package JSON file
Absolutely. Let's go over here.
after you run the npm on?
Yep. So there is our package JSON file. So it's only still going to show Express, right? Let me show you this. I'm just going to do this so you can see. Let's say I wanted to install another module. We'll say React, right? So I'm saying npm install React.js, which is not going to work in this app. I'm just installing it to show you. And then when we look back at our package JSON file, you'll now notice, oh, sorry, somebody from Amazon is sending me a message. All right, so package JSON file, React is now listed. So now when I say npmi, it's going to install Express and all of its dependencies. It's going to install React and all of its dependencies. So we always ignore our node modules folder. That's going to be something I'm going to be looking for right away. You cannot push up node modules to GitHub because then it just overloads the repository. There's literally no need at all. There's no need for that because Node built this system so that we don't have to do that. Good? All right. So now what we're going to do is kind of an extension point on this is we're going to move into actually building some things in Node. All right? And to do that, right, let's do this. Yeah, actually, we're going to go here. I'm going to create a new directory. I'm going to call this arithmetic. And we're going to build out a demo that has us working with a couple of basic kind of structures from 301. We'll use like reduce again, right? We'll use kind of this basic modular architecture. But the idea is we're going to do so in such a way that we can have an arithmetic module that allows us to add, subtract, multiply, and divide numbers, right? Then we're going to have a validator module that actually hooks into this arithmetic module so it can check that these things are actually numbers before it tries to do anything with it. And then we're going to have an index file that pulls those things in together as a main entry point. So what's going to end up happening here is we will have, and we're going to talk through this so that you can kind of understand the module side of things. We will end up having an index.js file. That's going to become really important in terms of a naming convention for us. What's another index name file that you all know of right now? Index.html. Index.html is always the home page or the main HTML file. Index.js is going to be our main entry point. And what it's going to do is it's going to pull in, right, arithmetic, which is going to be methods for adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing numbers from an array, I should say. So we'll pass in an array. We pass add an array, we'll add all those numbers together. We pass an array of numbers, we'll subtract all those numbers. Pass an array, multiply them, pass it, and divide it, right? That's kind of important because we'll be working with like reduce again and that kind of thing. But the bigger piece is that we have a module that allows us to add numbers, subtract numbers, multiply numbers, and divide numbers, which means that that's going to be like arithmetic.add, right? That's a method of this object. Arithmetic.subtract, that is a method of this object. And then what we're going to have is we're going to have over here, so this is a box, right? We're going to have a validator. And what this validator does is just check if these things have unique values or like, are they numbers? Is it an array? This is just checking when we pass in an array of numbers into our add function. Is it an array? Yes. And is it actually numbers? Yes. That kind of thing, right? It's not a compiler, but it's more of a module pattern of exporting modules into other things. So what will happen is this thing will hook into this thing, but they're all going to live in their own files, and then this thing will be in here so that we can actually say arithmetic. We'll just put AR for now. .add. You all follow what I'm saying here? So we'll be able to use these methods in here.
Like object.
Yep. Now, what is a method? Who can tell me what a method is?
It's like a related function to an array or object.
Close. I'm looking for a really clear description on this one. What is a method?
I think it's a function inside an object.
That's it. That's it. It is a function that is attached to a property on an object. So anytime you have an object that has a property, and that property is a function, that is a method of the object. So one of the things that students spend a long time with, and they really don't understand until they like really get into it, if I see something like this, I'm just going to put words up here. Thing.stuff.cool.hello, right? This does nothing at all. When I read this as a JavaScript developer, what I don't read is the word thing. What I don't read is the word stuff.
Just hello.
I see hello, I start at the end. Yep, you're exactly right. I start here, I see parentheses, which means that's a function call. But because this function has a dot before it, that means hello is a property on cool, right? So property of the cool object. Oh, guess what? Cool has a dot before it. That means that cool is a property on the stuff object. Stuff has a dot on it, which means that it is a property of the thing object. So the idea here is that I don't read it as like, what is thing? I read it as there is a function that is attached to this object, which also has another object it's attached to, which also has another object it's attached to. Let's explore this object. Let's explore this object. Let's explore this object. Now I know how this method works. That make sense? Just so you all know as well, one of the things I'm going to try to do here is I'm going to be using, I have like this pen tablet thing. I'll be using this a lot as we get a little bit further in this course for diagramming so that we have digital diagrams. If for some reason we don't, I'll take pictures of this stuff too and then put that online as well. Cool? Okay, so that is kind of the method side of things. So what we're going to do to start this whole process is we're essentially going to build out the structure for this first. All right, so again, you can follow along in the course repository. Everybody have a link to that? Everybody should have it all forked. Nothing has changed since your fork was provided, right? And we're going to create some files. How do I create a file in Node.js? Or not Node.js, I'm sorry. How do I create a file on my command line? Touch. Yep. So we'll start with index.js because we know we're going to have a main entry point, right? And then I told you earlier that we're going to have these modules, right? We're going to have a validator module, and we're going to have an arithmetic module. Well, before in the past, you probably would have thought make validator.js and arithmetic.js. Well, today we're going to take it even further, and we're going to go pro level with this, and we're going to create something, make dir source. We're going to create a directory called source. Source is going to contain all of our code and modules, and index is going to be the place that those things make their way into. Okay, so index is always this main entry point. Source will contain our modules that we're going to be working with. And we're going to talk about that module pattern here as we get into that as well. So let's see. Let's go into source. And like I said a minute ago, we're going to have two modules here. We're going to create one called arithmetic, which allows us to add, subtract, multiply, divide, and validator.
Can you slow down?
Yes, I can. Yes. Please tell me to slow down if you need me to. I'm actually going about half speed as normal, right?
Yeah, Mr. John tells us about that. You are faster than him.
I'm faster than him, yes. If I get really excited, I'm going to go like a train. So definitely tell me to slow down. Okay, so to kind of back up a little bit here, we created a source directory which is going to contain the modules that are part of our application. In particular, we're going to have two modules. One for adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. One for checking when we do that adding is actually accepting numbers and that it's accepting an array of numbers. And the same for subtract, multiply, and divide. This is our validation tool for these things. This is what we're going to be building. Now there's a point in learning here that you need to understand. I know you can add two numbers together. Function add, A, B. Return A plus B.
Yes.
We know you can do that,
That's it.
right?
Okay.
However, we're going to do this in such a way that it uses more modern constructs and techniques, and it's its own module. So it's not a standalone function. It is a series of functions attached to something called arithmetic, so we can do multiple things with that.
Built-in function.
Yes, built-in functions. Arithmetic, here's what a module should be in your eyes. A module should be a box that has a bunch of functions related to that thing that box is. So for example, locations might have a bunch of things. Get location, delete location, you know. Yes, exactly, right? All of those things are methods that are about a location. Location would be the box. Those methods would live in the box. Hello.
Hello, Brian. Lloyd.
Oh, hey, I haven't met you in person yet. Hey, how's it going? Very nice to meet you.
مرحبا جميعا. يعطيكم العافية. وسهلا فيكم. Come back. شو أخبارك? How have you been?
Oh, wonderful.
تحكي عربي ولا لسه؟
Yeah.
Start talking Arabic?
Yep. Just a little bit.
little bit.
Yeah.
هلا بقى على السريع بلش يحكي خلص المفروض.
نوعي ملاحظ الجنرال مانجر للادفانس تكنولوجيز.
Some of them يعني already we have
Already involved.
How have you been, guys? All is well? That was great. Feeling good? Excited? First of all, congratulations for all of you to pass the 401. Now starting the 401. The
Yes.
last stage, everyone is waiting for your progress, and hopefully all of you, inshallah, to graduate by the end of this course. Brian, we're so happy to have you here.
Thank you. I'm very, very excited to be here.
Also to meet with you and discuss all of these progresses on a daily basis.
It's going to be so much fun.
Awesome.
Very excited about it.
Perfect. Just one note, if possible, because I have to go to a meeting, and then we can continue.
Sure.
After, during the break, maybe we have the break at 12.
Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect. So just quickly, we have some of you already know the rules of conduct, and we asked the previous class of 301 to sign it. Maybe some of you did not sign it before, because we have now, based on multiple occasions and multiple issues that we had before, that we're asking every single student to sign it, please. So now it's translated in Arabic as well. It's important for you to look at it, read it, and sign it back. Signing is mandatory. Anyone who can sign it, please, we cannot accept it for anyone to sign it, because it's basically to protect your rights of communication, of incidents, to make sure that you know what exactly happening between and how to communicate with other colleagues, with other instructors as well, and during the campus. So please look at it. It's in Arabic and English. If you have any comments, you're welcome anytime to talk to me about it. But please, within 24 hours, I hope that everyone, I think some of them already signed it. But yes, the previous batch. But please look at it and bring it back signed to the. If you don't want to sign it, please come and talk to me. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to talk to you all and to discuss a lot of things. We have a lot of things planned for you during this course. And I think the career development curriculum is exciting, because you have to meet with industry speakers, our experts, and then we can plan a lot of things for you during the process.
Yep. And to actually address that too, the career coaching platform is part of this class. There's a lot of stuff in there. There's certain areas that are like more related to the Seattle market, which I've moved out. But the areas in terms of like getting you ready for industry meetings and for understanding what the interview pipeline looks like, for behavioral things, those are really, really, really important. Let me tell you what doesn't get someone a job, right? I've had lots of graduates that we consider, here's my term, shredder, maybe John shared that with you. Shredders are the coders who are just like awesome. They just go through things. I've had lots of shredders at CodeFellows that have went to go apply for jobs. They've gone through a technical interview loop, and they've passed and aced every aspect of the technical interview loop, and they didn't get the job. They didn't get the job because they weren't talking to people. They weren't taking a humane standpoint. They were very much like, I'm so good at this, I can build these things. You've got to learn to be a professional in this environment and talk through these things eloquently and efficiently and accept feedback from potential employers. So our career coaching platform is really built around that too.
Actually, to add a point to that, Amazon had the first MENA event. It was like 1 month ago. It was held by the Amazon. We had like senior vice president from Amazon Top Global came in.
Oh, that's awesome.
And talking about their plans for the MENA region. You know that the head office now in Saudi Arabia, but they have, I think, the building now. It used to be the HSBC Bank at the fifth circle. Now it has 650 employees of Amazon.
So cool.
And they're planning to go to 1,000 the next coming year.
Right here? Yep.
And actually, the interesting thing about that conference, it was a recruitment event. They invited every tech company, they invited all of these startups and asked them to bring their engineers, but without telling them why. And they start pitching the whole Amazon strategy on the MENA, start sharing some confidential information about their progress. And they told everyone this event is directed for the software engineers. And so basically we know that exactly all of them want to hire in hundreds. And we already have a connection with the HR. So they will be part of our employment day as well. Because we're going to have like a career day once we finish the 401. We'll invite Amazon, Expedia, all of these tech companies. Amazon, when they hire, they start with something called the 21 Principles, which is all about career development skills and attitude and personal skills. It's nothing related to technical. They don't even talk about technical stuff. They start doing that after you pass the 21 Principles. Read about them. They just check out 21 Principles of Amazon.
Yep.
They literally start by doing this for the interview. So it's so important to cover that part also. And this is why tech companies actually have top talents, not just about the technical parts, also about the attitude, the aptitude, the soft skills.
On that front too, we have a thing in our career coaching platform that is directly mapped to Amazon. It's called the STAR method. We got that STAR method from Amazon. They said you need to know these principles, and if you know these things, then it's going to help you get a job, because these are things we teach people after they get jobs here. So this is a strategy. You go there and they ask you questions that come from those STAR principles, and you're like, I already know the answer to this because I know what you want me to, or I know what you want to hear, and you give them exactly what they want to hear, right? We're here to directly prepare you on that front too. Really exciting stuff.
Also, one last thing.
Yep.
Conference. Do you know Expand Conference? It happened last year. It's the first software development conference in Jordan, but it was directly to the MENA region. I think 400 people attended it. And this year they're expecting 1,000 people. We're talking about speakers from Microsoft, Amazon. Code Fellows also will be speaking about, during the conference, we'll have people from our partners as well to come and speak in the event. It's one of the biggest tech events. Check it out online. It's by invitation, you have to buy a ticket. Luminous will be a platinum sponsor, and all of you will get a ticket to attend it.
That's so cool. That's awesome.
So you'll engage with employers, you'll see speeches, you'll be part of the whole tech scene, you understand exactly what's happening. And it's the most important actually software development event. It's directed only for you, and all of you will be part of it, inshallah.
That's super awesome. Very nice to meet you. Thanks for coming in.
Sorry
Yes.
for taking
Oh, no, you're fine. No worries.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. So we have 4 minutes, which actually I think this is actually a good time to kind of stop because we haven't built the modules yet. And I'm going to come back in and talk about these again before we do it, just to kind of recap. So let me set your expectations for today, right? 1 to 2 won't be code challenge today. We're going to be in lecture, I think, probably from 1 until about 3, maybe 3:30-ish. Your code challenge, I'm going to say that you should all do on your own at home tonight, and just get as far along as you can. Time box it to an hour, please. Do not time box it to 4 hours, because then you won't be able to get your lab assignment. If you do not get through your code challenge for only today, right, you get as far as you can. Let's say you don't get anything done at all with your code challenge. That's okay. Today is the only day that I give an exemption on a code challenge because it takes so long for us to get through the first day. Cool? Okay. Yeah. Do your readings, though. That's important. However, from when we get back, we're going to start promptly at 1 o'clock. And at 1 o'clock, we are going to go through again, and we're going to build this out. Now, let me explain a couple of things about how the lecture environment works, just really quickly, right? In lecture, again, I talk fast. Please tell me to slow down if you need me to. I absolutely will not take offense to that. We start out by architecting like what we're going to build. And then in that build process, we start to talk about the learning objective pieces that you're going to see as part of the day. So what I don't do is just say like, here's a node module, this is a node module, go build a node module. I say, let's make a node module, let's implement the module, and as we're building it, let's talk about this is the thing that you're supposed to learn today. Does that make sense? Okay, there are going to be a lot of assumptions in this class. And when I say assumptions, I mean, I assume that you graduated, well, I know that you graduated 201 and 301. I assume that you have a base level of knowledge of JavaScript, right? Meaning that I assume you can write a for loop. I assume that you can create a function. I assume that you know what parameters are or arguments are. Those are different things. I assume that you understand the point of a variable declaration, right? These are all assumptions given that you've come out of 201 and 301. Now, some of those are not going to be there. Some of those things you need to kind of recap and work through. But those assumptions are going to be applied here because this is 401, right? This is where you take your skills and you apply them, not where you learn how to write JavaScript. Now, there's definitely new things we're going to work with and really cool new things. But I'm not here to teach you JavaScript. You learn JavaScript already from a foundational standpoint. I'm here to teach you how to wire it up, how to make it better, how to make it more efficient, how to make it modern, and how to use ES6 across the board. All right? I guess lunchtime, right?
Yep.
Lunchtime. All right. I don't know what that means for me, but I'm gonna eat whatever. Let's meet back in this classroom at 1 o'clock. And this